This training mission follows the procedures described on the flight manual of the real aircraft adapted for use on the A-4E of DCS. The step numbers, when provided, corresponds to those of the NATOPS manual, and are given to allow easy reference to it. The U.S. Navy defines 3 different types of recovery to a carrier, depending on the current weather conditions. This mission is dedicated solely to the Case 1 recovery. Case 1 is a daytime visual recovery flown in when the cloud deck is higher than 3,000 feet and visibility is greater than 5 miles. This training mission includes the following sections. Set up TAC and define the carrier. Set up the UHF radio to communicate with the carrier. Pattern entry. Pattern. Recovery and wave off. Shutdown. If the cockpit interior is too dark, activate the flashlight with left Alt+L. If the yellow cross cursor is not visible, press left Alt plus left Shift plus C to make it appear. Also, you can press spacebar to cut short long texts, in case you are repeating the mission. We have unpaused the sim and enabled the autopilot in order to explain how to set up our TACAN and radio equipment. Please increase the throttle to keep a speed of at least 300 knots. The TACAN receiver will allow you to find our carrier fleet and navigate towards it. The radio unit will be used to communicate with the carrier. We will use our TACAN receiver to get our fleet's bearing. First, set the TACAN mode to transmit-receive. The Stennis TACAN is 74X. To tune the station 74, right-click on the center of the tuning dial, until a 4 shows on the bottom of the channel window. Good. Now, right-click on the outer part of the tuning dial, until a 7 shows on the middle of the channel window. It should display 7-4. Finally, adjust the volume knob until you can just hear the TACAN station's Morse code, to confirm that it is correctly tuned. Next, set the BDHI switch to the TACAN position, so that the instrument's main pointer will show data from the TACAN. Check the BDHI, its main needle, the thicker one, is now showing the bearing towards the TACAN station. Turn your aircraft so that the needle is pointing to its 12 o'clock position. This will set you on a course towards the carrier. The small numeric window on the BDHI instrument shows the current distance in nautical miles to the TACAN station. On this case it's the Stennis. The UHF radio is energized by turning its function selector knob from off to DR or TR+G. The radio can be tuned in one of 2 modes, preset or manual. For this mission, select preset mode. Next we will tune the UHF radio. Our destination carrier is currently using an ATC UHF frequency of 255.75 MHz. Open up the kneeboard, with right Shift plus K, page forward with the closing square bracket key. On the page titled Radio Presets, you will find that preset 3 is currently set to the 255.75 MHz frequency. Close the kneeboard with the same right Shift plus K keys. Use the highlighted knob to select preset channel 3, with right or left mouse clicks. Good, now the radio is properly tuned and able to contact the carrier's ATC. The recovery process will start on entry to the Carrier Control Area, or CCA. This is a 50 nautical miles radius circle around the carrier. Once we reach it, we will contact the carrier. We are now within 50 miles, inside the Carrier Control Area. Contact the Stennis ATC by pressing the HOTAS PTT button or the / key. Select F5. ATC. Select F4. CVN 74 John C. Stennis. Select F1. Inbound.
010. Inbound.
The Stennis ATC will answer with a message that contains the following elements. The side ID number of our aircraft, 010. The heading and distance to the carrier. The QFE, at the carrier's location. The heading of the carrier, as if it were a land runway heading. Take note of the carrier's heading as it is important later on. The carrier holding altitude assigned to our flight is 2,000 feet. Start a descent, so that you reach that altitude by the time we reach 10 nautical miles from the carrier. Set the low altitude warning system Q to 2,000 feet on the radar altimeter, and turn it on, to get a warning if we get below that level. Remember to use the trim hat on the hose, to make more subtle changes on the pitch attitude of the aircraft. The key commands are: trim nose up equals right plus control plus stop. Trim nose down equals right plus control plus semi-comma. If you want, you can make use of the time acceleration feature of DCS. Accelerate time. Left control plus C. Time normal. Left shift plus C. Make sure to have the aircraft in stable flight before accelerating time. Don't maneuver the aircraft while on time acceleration. Return time to normal before touching the stick. Also, you can use left control plus Y to enable the bottom status bar, as it shows on its right corner the time acceleration factor in red. You are now at 20 nautical miles from the carrier and your altitude is still over 4,000 feet. Reduce altitude, so that you arrive at holding altitude of 2,000 feet by the time you get within 10 nautical miles from the carrier. You are now at 10 nautical miles from the carrier and the fleet should be within sight. To enter the recovery pattern, alter your heading, pointing towards the trailing ship of the fleet, to the right. Reduce speed and altitude, so that you arrive over that ship at 250 knots and 800 feet. When ATC calls that you are within visual range, answer with F1. Request landing. You are now just over the trailing ship. Turn hard left. The carrier heading is 10 degrees. Fly parallel to the carrier, at 250 knots and 800 feet, aim for the ship that is just ahead of the carrier, to its right. At that point we will initiate the brake maneuver. Extend the tail hook, using the HOTAS or by clicking on the highlighted lever. Initiate a level brake to the left. Strive to maintain 800 feet until you have completed the brake. Extend landing gear and flaps. Speed should be 225 knots. Descend to 600 feet and attain optimum angle of attack speed. Check speed brakes. Heading 185 degrees. Now turn left, towards the ship just behind the carrier. Maintain optimum angle of attack speed, descend to 500 feet. Now turn left to enter the groove. Maintain optimum AOA speed. Add full power, retract speed brakes, and maintain optimum attitude. Fly straight up the angled deck and re-enter the circuit for another pass. Now turn left, towards the ship just behind the carrier. Maintain optimum angle of attack speed, descend to 500 feet. Now turn left to enter the groove. Maintain optimum AOA speed. When the aircraft arrestment is ensured, retard the throttle to idle. Allow the aircraft to roll back a bit, to permit the hook to disengage from the pendant. Then, apply wheel brakes judiciously to prevent the aircraft from rolling back. Following arrestment, immediately place master exterior lights switch to off and raise the hook, using HOTAS or clicking on its lever. Taxi out of the landing area as soon as possible, to let other aircrafts land. For the Skyhawk there is no interaction with the plane director, so you should locate a free spot to park and taxi there by yourself. Press spacebar once you have cleared the landing area. While taxiing, retract the speed brakes. Press spacebar once you are at your park spot. Securing engine. We will now perform this procedure before exiting the aircraft. 1. Flaps up. 2. Speed brakes. Retract if still open. 3. Spoilers. Confirm they are closed, and its switch is off. 4. Horizontal stabilizer trim. Set to 0 degrees. 5. Drop tank switch. Set to off, with a right click. 6. Turn off radios and all electrical equipment. A. Terrain radar. Off. B. Countermeasures. Switch to off. C. APR 25 and APR 27, ECM devices. Confirm off. D. APN 153, Doppler radar. Set to off. D. ASN 41, navigation computer. Confirm that it's off. E. UHF radio. Check that it is off. E. DAC and receiver. Set to its off position. 11. Canopy. Open dot by pulling the lever. Press spacebar once it is fully open. 7. Ask the ground crew to place wheel chocks. Press the / key to open the communications menu. Press F8, ground crew. Press F4, wheel chocks. Press F1, place wheel chocks.
Copy. Wheel chocks are now
14.
in place.
With engine stabilized at idle, set the throttle off by clicking on it twice. Wait until the engine comes to a complete stop. It may take a bit. (15) Oxygen switch. Set to its off position. Congratulations, you have successfully finished this training mission. Please exit the mission by pressing the escape key.